Now, when it comes to changing your sleep, the things that we do in the day will influence our sleep at night. And we have this thing called sleep hygiene, which is essentially the way that we set ourselves up every day to have a good quality sleep. Now, there's a few habits that I'm going to list through now that play their part in how good your sleep is every night. So as I go through them again, you could just make a little note of which ones you feel you need to work on the most. Pick one from this list and then work on it. So what I will say with this time frame, with the time frame of all this, is that you may experience positive improvements in sleep early on in a couple of days, maybe, but on the flip side, you may not experience them for a good couple of weeks, maybe even a month. Like, different people and different habits take different time frames to see positive results. And you may find that once you've worked on one, you then start to build on another whilst maintaining the good habits of the first one. And then in general, there's a pattern of more positive sleep occurring, which is obviously what we're looking for. So don't be disheartened if after only a couple of days you're not seeing the improved sleep that you would like. Keep persevering, be consistent, just like you would with a training plan. And then hopefully over the coming months, your sleep will improve, and so will your daily habits that contribute to the quality of sleep. So just to reiterate, like, good sleep hygiene, it's all about putting together day-to-day good habits that will influence really good quality and length of sleep. So one of the first habits I want to talk about is alcohol, because some people consider that when they drink alcohol, they actually fall to sleep quicker and sometimes actually sleep longer after consuming alcohol the night before. But the thing is with this is that although that the hours are longer that they've slept, the quality of the sleep is generally less than what they would get without the alcohol. So although you're getting more hours, people that have consumed alcohol before bedtime and in larger quantities may actually still wake up feeling quite weary, quite tired, and not rested. And the idea of having a good night's sleep is to feel rested. So the suggestion would be if you could minimize the alcohol intake in the evenings, and also try and have your alcohol intake 3 to 4 hours before bed. So it's not to say you can't enjoy 1 or 2 drinks with dinner. You can. Just try and limit the alcohol intake on a day-to-day basis to 1 to 2 glasses or drinks, whatever it may be. And also try and have it 3 to 4 hours before you actually go to bed. In a similar vein, I'll talk about coffee, because coffee can be quite a habitual drink that's drunk every day by a lot of people, and coffee contains caffeine, and it's caffeine that stimulates our body to feel really alert and awake, which is sometimes why we actually drink it, because we're feeling a little bit tired, so we'll have a coffee to wake us up. It's a very common thing that we see. But the thing with this is obviously our body wants to get tired at night time, but if we're consuming caffeine later into the day, we're kind of telling our body to stay awake, even though it's night time we want to go to sleep. So I'm sure it's quite obvious to see if you're having something that tells you and stimulates your body to be more awake and alert at a time that we want to be not so alert and more tired, there's going to be issues. So more often than not leads to not falling asleep as quickly as one would like. So the other thing people don't know about caffeine is that within your system in the body, once you've ingested it, it can take upwards of 10 hours to actually be eliminated from the system. So that means in terms of when you should have it, we want to be looking to kind of cut or stop caffeine being taken into the body by about 2 p.m. latest, really. In an ideal world, midday, because obviously 10 hours from there is still 10 o'clock, which is a relatively decent bedtime. And then another habit that we could talk about, which is semi-forced upon us, is daylight, because obviously the sun rises in the morning, sets at night time. So we always have this guaranteed period of daylight that's going to occur. But we want to get into a habit of exposing ourselves to daylight, because our body runs on this circadian rhythm that you may have heard of. It's basically your body clock. And it's the daylight that stimulates these clocks, almost gets it to reset and go, right, the day is starting. And then when the sun goes down, that's when the body has its clock signals to go, okay, well, it's getting darker now, it's time to rest and sleep. But we can do things to obviously mix these signals, because we have things like blackout blinds in the morning, so we can actually prevent the daylight coming through the windows and extend our nighttime period. And we have things like lights and screens that can extend our daylight hours, be it fake light, but it's still blue light that stimulates our body to be, I need to be awake. So if we can, a good habit that would be to get into is actually, can we expose ourselves to natural daylight as early into the day as possible? And can we try and get ourselves 20-30 minutes of daylight before we actually crack on with the day? So for those of you with dogs, it's relatively easy in that sense, because you can take your dog for a walk before you kind of get set up to go to work or to proceed with your day. If that's not quite an option, because you have to kind of get up, get ready and go, the next best option is, can you just get 20 to 30 minutes of daylight as early as possible in your day? And this isn't to say that it has to be beaming sunlight. This is just, it's daylight in general. So even if it's cloudy, get yourself up and out and exposed into some of that, and it just helps the body clock start to kind of find their a regular rhythm, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for regularity day to day. And again, touching on from what we've just said in the daylight section, the screens and lights are another habit that we could build upon and improve. As I've said, these screens that we have, TVs, phones, tablets, laptops, etc., they emit blue light. And essentially, without being too technical, the blue light is what, when we look at it, it stimulates our body to be awake and alert and not tired, which is obviously what we want at night time. So if we can start minimizing our exposure to this blue light later on in the day and closer to bedtime, we have a better chance of our body calming down and being less stimulated by the screens. So with the way technology is advancing as well, we do have ways to help this now. So with most smartphones and tablets and laptops, they do have night modes or dark options. So if you can turn those on 2 to 3 hours before heading to bed, that would be ideal. And then if you could just not use anything electronic an hour or so or more, if possible, before bed, that will go a long way to helping the body be less stimulated and more relaxed heading into your sleep. Now, again, with the way that we work nowadays in the world, some of us have to work quite late on screens, so that's not ideal, but we can work around it. Nowadays, other companies can produce and have made these glasses that basically block out as much of the blue light as possible. So if you are someone that works later on screens or has to be around screens for later into the day and close to bedtime, it may well be worth looking into getting some blue light blocking glasses. Sometimes they're orange tinted. Nowadays they're actually becoming more clear, so they just look like normal glasses rather than being on a building site. But they can go a very, very long way to helping you and your brain be less stimulated at nighttime, and then contribute towards a better sleeping pattern and quality. The next daily habit we can think about is exercise. So it's finally in here, being that this is what we do with personal training. We exercise in the gym, and hopefully away from your sessions you're doing at least a couple of sessions a week. But to break it down to really simple terms, like every day you wake up, your body has energy to use. So we want to try and make a conscious effort to at least use some a day, so that we're using the energy sources that we have, rather than just keeping it within us. So it's going to contribute towards that feeling of tiredness towards the end of the day. So obviously, if you're going to come in for a gym session, push a good gym session at whatever point in the day you can, that'd be great. But if you're on a day where you cannot train for whatever reason, can you try and get 30 minutes of even low intensity exercise? That is literally as simple as walking. Can you get 30 minutes of walking done in the day? If 30 minutes is still a push for time, you can break that up into 3 lots of 10 minutes. And I'm sure we can all find 10 minutes of time just to get a low intensity walk done. So again, expending that energy will contribute towards that tired feeling towards the end of the day. And then one of the last habits that we can work on is our feeding, and specifically the timing. So late night feeding is less ideal for our sleep, because again, our body works on a clock. So when we're exposed to daylight early in the day, we're ready to start the day. The body wants obviously food to digest food through the day. And if we're going towards the latter stages of the day, towards bedtime, or we're eating really close to bed, the body wants to be going to sleep. It kind of doesn't want to be digesting food. And with research that's coming out now, we know actually now are starting to see that the body doesn't even digest the food as well as if you eat it earlier in the day. So if you can have your dinner 4 hours before bedtime, that'd be great. Give yourself the chance to actually digest that, and then the body can focus on sleeping at nighttime. If you are getting hungry later on towards the day and you have to have a later dinner or consume something later on in the evening, the suggestion would be, can you keep whatever you're consuming to under 200-300 calories, and could you have something that is higher in protein? Because the research is suggesting that actually the protein can be broken down over nighttime better than things like carbs and fats. But rather than consistently having a big dinner at nighttime, can you just have something slightly smaller and give your body less to deal with whilst it's sleeping? Now, that's a long list of habits, so I'll reiterate this again. Just pick one of them and start trying to improve it, and keep going with it. Even if you're not seeing results in your sleep straight away, keep trying to improve that habit. And when you feel like you have that sussed and it's automatic, then pick another habit and then improve that, make that better. And then hopefully these things will add up over time to give you a better length and quality of sleep.